Cool. Are we good? I can see a thumbs up from you, Matt. Does that mean we're good to go?
I think we are. I can see the message saying we're live.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, yes, I've got a little message flashed up as well. Well, good evening, and it's lovely to see you guys. I don't know whether you know each other, and Baby J, I know it's your first time here. So I'm quickly going to go around my sort of screen here, my gallery, and just do a quick introduction. Matt, I'm going to come to you first, please.
Yep, Councillor Matthew Holmes. I'm a Derby City Councillor and Ward Councillor in Mickleover Ward.
Brilliant. And a regular on this. I think we've done this together for 2 years now.
Must be. Time's flown by, hasn't it?
Oh, Gordon Bennett, time has flown by. And we've had lots of emotional times. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Next on my screen, Ryan, do you want just to quickly say who you are, please?
Yeah, Ryan Duckett, Chief Executive of Derbyshire County Cricket Club.
Lovely to see you as always, Ryan, and thanks for coming again. And then Baby J, if you could say who you are.
Yeah, my name's Baby J. I'm the CEO of Baby People, and we're the UK's first hip-hop school working with young people based in the city centre.
An amazing school, actually. Absolutely fantastic. Every time I leave your place, I'm just inspired, not to do hip-hop, I have to say, but just inspired by all the young people who are there. But anyway, guys, what I'm going to do is I'll just go round as always, just ask a couple of questions. And I think the first thing, and if we get anything coming through, obviously on the Q&A, Max will text me that so that I'm aware of it. But let's just talk quickly about the alternative education. And Jem, I'm going to come to you first, please, because I know you and I have had many conversations about this. But as a city, how important do you think having an alternative provision is in Derby, or indeed across the country?
I think the thing is that school is great, and the way we educate in this country on the whole is great, and it works for most young people. It doesn't need fundamentally changing. But what we have to recognise is it doesn't work for all young people. And sometimes that can be because there's other things going on in young people's lives that make school difficult or challenging, but sometimes they just learn in different ways. Some young people will learn being hands-on, and they'll be better out, doing mechanics or hair and beauty or music or whatever. Or they just need a different environment to work in. And I think, you only have to look in society and say there isn't always a direct parallel between people that are successful and have contributed a lot and those who did well at school. That's not to say you shouldn't do well at school. It's not great. It's not a good idea to get good grades and go to university, because you should. But it doesn't work for all young people, and that's where alternative provision comes in. And when you don't have good AP or alternative provision, or that alternative provision isn't supported, then you get young people falling through the net that don't get that chance in life, who could really contribute and do something, but there isn't the infrastructure there to support them in those kind of vital early stages.
No, I think what you do is so important. And having been somebody who I've not got a degree, I didn't really get A-levels. I was too busy drinking alcohol at the time, unfortunately. And you're right, it's not always about that one particular route, and that's not to knock the traditional route, of course, at all, but it's sometimes it's just not always right for everybody. Matt, I mean, obviously I know your children. How do you think? I mean, they're very talented, aren't they, in different ways as well?
Yeah, I'm really lucky to grown-up daughters now. One's working for ITV, the other one's actress, performer, singer, that kind of thing. So it's a hard business to be in, but the creative industries are a lot more viable than they used to be, and I think that there is now support. It's music to my ears what you've said there, Baby J, because we've spoken about this before. Well, I've spoken about this on one of Amanda's Q&As about my experience, where I had very different. This was in the 80s at secondary school. I had very different sort of hobbies and interests than the mainstream, really, in terms of computers, music, that kind of thing, or music technology specifically. And although I got a solid education, I wasn't 100% focused on what you'd say. You mentioned about traditional stuff. I wanted a creative outlet. I was lucky that I was able to kind of have be able to provide that around myself. It's a long story, but writing computer games, which allowed me to buy music equipment, and I was lucky in that respect that I could sort of build the things around me to do it outside of school. And now actually they asked me to bring some of that in school because it wasn't there. I recognized that pathway for myself, and I think that it's not for everybody, but to recognize those kind of alternative, or not necessarily alternative anymore, those skills that people have which can really allow them to flourish as a person growing up and then into adulthood is massively important. And it's great to hear what you're doing there, because people need an outlet where they have a different path than other people.
Matt, I seem to recall that you joined a band. I've got a vision in my mind of you with long curly ringlets or something.
Yeah,
which
a long time.
For, but I don't think.
Well, I'm sure there's people watching this who'll probably dig it all up. But that was a long time ago now. I'm fully retired. But the point is that I'm a great believer in if you have a genuine skill. Well, there's two things here. You can have outlets because you enjoy it, and that's what you feel you want to do, to express yourself and to meet other people, and that's brilliant, because sometimes that is all you need as a youngster. Those that excel and have genuine skills in performing or creativity or hip hop music, whatever it might be, they need an outlet. They need people to support them, because there is a viable industry out there to make a really good living in that area if you are good at what you do. So I suppose there's two threads. There's nurturing people who have those aspirations and just enjoy it, maybe won't necessarily make a career out of it, but it will offer them something in life along the way. And those who genuinely are really good at those, and we need to nurture and allow them to flourish, because they provide something to the world that others can't, and it's a real viable career in my opinion anyway.
Thank you for that, Matt. Ryan, what about yourself? What are your views on? Do you have similar views?
No, absolutely. You had I'm not sure the pleasure actually of meeting my two girls a few weeks ago, didn't you? You saw them at a cricket match, didn't you? My now 9 and 6-year-old just had their birthdays recently, and I know just at that age, my two daughters, they're very different academically, and one's probably, I think, very, very compliant and no problem in her, but the other one's probably leads a little bit more pushing to do what work's being set by school. So even at that age, you can see that people learn very differently, just from my own personal experience. And I know from my time working in sport over the last 25 years that some of the courses at our foundations, or I know Derby County Community Trust as well, run a number of education courses, have been really, really successful, probably similar to what Baby J is doing, obviously with a sporting theme. And I think it's really, really good. I think some of those people who take these courses may well have not thrived in a traditional education environment, but have gone on and done courses within sport and have gone on to have really, really successful careers, and probably got more out of education than they might have done in the more traditional form. So I think it's really, really important to have that alternative provision to give everyone the opportunity to excel and achieve their potential. So I'm fully supportive of it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking. I'll perhaps come back to you, Matt, and then maybe to you, Baby J. But at what point do you recognise? I mean, we're all talking about different personalities, different learning styles, different ways that we interact. And it concerns me that we lose some young people and I wonder if there's an age where you feel as though we should be going down different routes. I'm just thinking one of my daughters hated maths. I mean, really hated maths and didn't like it at all. And I can remember sitting for hours and hours trying to think, how do I get through this wall of mathematics? And it was, right, do we go through it? Do we go over it? Do we go under it? But so easily could attention have been lost. And I've seen it. I've been a school governor now for 20 years, where kids just become totally disengaged. And I just wonder, Matt, if you've got any views how we identify that to maybe nurture rather than punish and then disengage with young people.
I mean, I'm not a teacher, but this is my sort of approach that I would take, or I think we should take, is that it's really important that everyone's got an understanding of mathematics, and some people aren't going to go to degree level, and take it in forward that way, but a basic understanding of all you know, that kind of thing is important. But I think if people are struggling, and I really struggled with maths, and I'm not particularly good at maths even now, but we've got lots of tools around us now to help us. But I think that it's a balance, isn't it? I think if you can help somebody in whatever way to be happy in their life and learning skills, a creative outlet, or what it is their passion actually is, understand that and help them with that. I think that will then fit in with more of the traditional education, and you don't forget that and just say, well, you don't need that, because you do. But it's a balance, and make sure they're happy in their life, that they're doing something they enjoy, and then they can also spend some time looking at you know, the traditional things as well. And I think that, well, one example I can think of is football academies. You know, you play football, and you know, you aspire to play for, you know, a top class team and be a professional footballer. However, they make sure that you have an education alongside of that, and I think that's the balance: is nurturing the talent, but providing them with a really good, solid, basic level of education, so that they can use that alongside whatever talents they've got.
And Jay, on that, I mean, I'm just thinking of this trigger point. Is it that you're talking about alternative provision? Is there something that happens to trigger the necessity for AP, or actually should it be more mainstream? I know we spoke about people opting into something like Baby People. I mean, what are your views on that?
I mean, I've always said that whilst I'm not trying to put ourselves out of business, my organisation shouldn't exist, because not just the type of provision, it's not about whether it's sport or music or hairdressing or whatever, but the opportunity to learn in different ways should be embedded in schools. And the problem that we've gone down a culture over the past decade or so, where schools are so pressured by league tables, by Ofsted, by the DFE, of you must get these results in these core STEM subjects. And it's interesting what Matt was saying about, you know, the creative industries, because, you know, as a country, we don't manufacture and export that successfully anymore. UK services isn't a big part of the global market. I think it's something like 7 or 9%. Amanda, you'll probably know better. But UK music is a massive part of the global market. You know, it's 20% of over 20% of the global market. And the creative industries is something that we still do really well nationally and export as well. So there's so much opportunity for young people. And on the other side of it, a bit like Matt was saying, is that, you know, people always say to us, oh, have you had any success stories? And what they mean is, have you had anyone that's gone on to get signed by a major label or getting the chance? And we have had a couple, but we don't view that as our success stories. Our success stories is when we meet a young person that's systematically been told, you're not very good in education, not very good at learning. And then through coming to us, or people like us, it changes, and they start to think, well, I've got something to offer. I can be successful. I can be like these guys that are teaching me, and, you know, I've got, you know, I can do something that's really good. And then it changes. That might go on. They might go on to do something completely different as a career, not even connected to the creative industries, but they've learned those soft skills. They've learned, you know, how to follow through and get the work done and put the hours in and all that stuff that they're not learning through school and education, because that model hasn't worked for them. And it does work for most kids. For most kids, it's absolutely fine. But the young people need an opportunity, and schools need an opportunity, that when that doesn't work, that they can offer something different. And currently, young people come to us when it's already broken down and when it's gone wrong and when they've already been labelled as a problem. And some of them aren't a problem. They just learn in a different way to other students. And that's the bit that we've got to fix in education.
Yeah. And how would you identify that, Joe? I mean, when you talk about they come to you with a problem, at what stage would that intervention take place? Do you recognise it as young as 5 or 6, or, you know, would you overhaul the complete system?
Yeah, I think it's the complete system. I mean, young people are being excluded from primary onwards, and I think the city's Derby's done quite well recently, as it's sort of looked at that and gone, we really shouldn't be excluding young people at primary age. We need to fix this in the schools. And some of the secondary schools are now saying, well, let's not have a culture of just exclusion. Let's look at how we fix the problems internally. But essentially, some of those problems you won't fix internally unless the culture in the schools changed, and the culture in the school won't change unless Ofsted and the DFE are assessing the school on other things other than what the GCSE outcomes are. And, you know, like creative industries as an example, and it's the same in sport, Ryan, as well. You know, these subjects a lot of time aren't even options for kids to take past a certain age. They'll get a little bit of a taste, but most schools aren't even offering music as a course anymore. So if you're interested in learning in different ways, you haven't. So then your work goes downhill. Then you become labelled as unsuccessful in school. Then your behaviour drops off. Then you get excluded. And then when it doesn't work out in the Pro, then you get the opportunity to study music. It shouldn't be like that. That opportunity should be there from primary to kind of go, well, actually, I'm not really interested in, you know, maths, but maybe through my interest in sport or creativity or other things, I'm interested in learning, and through that I could do maths. Through that I could improve my literacy, my language, and all these other skills that I'm going to need.
So no, great points. And Ryan, I'm just want to sort of bring you in, if I may. I'm just thinking around, you know, we know the city has talented musicians, we know the city had talented sports people, but can sport be used to, do you think, in education even more, do you think, to nurture that talent? Or you're muted.
Sorry, I don't think I've got out of the habit of doing that. My children were shouting in the background. Actually, I think my wife was trying to get them to do their homework. So you know.
Oh, God.
That's why I muted. I put myself on mute. But anyway, they've gone out now. My youngest daughter's got rainbows to go to. Yes. So yeah, I mean, just in terms of our own, what we've done within our cricket foundation is we invite schools down, and actually cricket lends itself really, really well actually in terms of numeracy. But we've done a number of different courses before. But obviously, you know, numeracy in terms of the number of runs and wickets and other things. We've done some courses where schools have come in and done that. But also from a writing perspective as well, you know, bringing schools in and doing match reports and things like that. So we've used sport to you know, because through both English and maths, and try and balance that with some, you know, playing some cricket, whether it's quick cricket on the outfield, but also when they're there on the day using it for literacy and numeracy as well. And it's certainly the feedback we've had from schools has been really positive. The other things that we've done is also using it to inspire people to live healthy lifestyles. So whether it be exercising or eating healthy as well. So we've kind of using the power of sport to inspire people, whether it's literacy and numeracy, but also living a healthy, positive lifestyle as well. So, and you know, if I'm sat there with a shirt and tie on, it's not quite as exciting as one of our players delivering that message as well. So that's what we try and do if they're available. And the feedback we've had from schools in the past has been really, really positive.
And Ryan, something that I know we've spoken about before, but I'm going to broaden this out to everybody as well, is around mental health. And I know we talk about it nearly every time, but mental health is just really important. As you know, it's a great passion that we should have good mental health, but clearly it's really difficult to get to that point. I mean, Ryan, am I right in believing that cricketers often can have poor mental health, and yet you're putting the argument for sport being something that brings on good mental health? And I just wondered what your views on that were.
Yeah, there's no doubt that I think across sport in general, there's been a lot of you know, high profile people speaking out about their mental health challenges, and there's no doubt it is an issue for cricket, and we try and provide as much support as possible. Now we have we used to have a HR manager, we now have a HR and wellbeing manager. And there's a sort of difference in the job title there, because we want to provide as much support as we can for players, and not just players but also staff as well. Yeah, across sport there's a number of issues of mental health, and you know, the positive is that whilst those challenges there, people are now speaking out about it, and people feel more comfortable around the club to talk about the challenges they have. Whereas when I first started working in sport, probably about 26 years ago now, it was very little, you know, people within a club and high profile sports people speaking out about it. But the positive is now that people feel more comfortable to speak about the challenges they have, and therefore I think there's more support to be given there.
It's really interesting actually, because I'm for my hamstring, as I think I've probably moaned about on several occasions, and so I've never been a great runner, but even a worse runner now because I can't run. But on Sunday, it just got to the point where I just needed to get out in the fresh air. I just needed to do something. And I can't tell you how much help it was, even though I wasn't really going at any kind of pace whatsoever, just actually doing that physical thing. But I'm just thinking as well about music, and I'll come to you, Joe, before I come to Matt. Music is just so powerful. And I'm thinking when I was round about, it sounds ridiculous, and 14 and 15, and I really had no focus, and I really actually was fairly low at a low point in my life. But it was one single song that actually pulled me round, and I thought, do you know what? This is it. And now, even now, when I listen to that song, and I have my election night song as well, whether I win or lose, that just inspires me to think, okay, music can play such an important part in your life. I mean, Jay, is this why what you do is so effective, or is it just what you offer is that engagement with kids?
I think the thing is about creativity, and this is the same for all of us, whether we look at art, watch films, listen to music, or whether we make any of those things, is that it's a way of expressing yourself. And that can be the words of this song speak for me, even though I didn't write it, or it can be you writing a song or painting a picture, whatever. And it always astounds me that you can come into Baby People and go into one of the studios and talk to some of these teenage lads and say, how's things, what's going on with you? Sophie, hold up, no answer. But then you can't get a conversation with them unless you've got that rapport. But if you say sit and write a lyric, and they'll write a song and write a rap, and they'll tell you everything that's going on with their life. They'll tell you what they're happy about, what they're sad about, what they're scared about, what they're angry about, and all their feelings will come out. And that's very therapeutic in just in the same way as traditional ways. You sit with a friend and you talk about your problems and you get it off your chest, and it helps a little bit. And they don't necessarily feel comfortable to do that with adults, sometimes even with their friends, but they will do it through music. They will do it through art. It's a way of expressing yourself. And you're doing it in a voice that you feel ownership of, because, we can't sit here and kind of go, oh, you've done that in the wrong way about a grime track or a drill track. What do we know? But the young people, that's their voice. That's their way of talking, their way of expressing. So I think it's so powerful and so important. And for a lot of young people, it's the only way that they express themselves. And there's this tribal thing as well, isn't it? And I know there's negative connotations with some of these music scenes, and people kind of go, oh, it's gangs and it's violence. And there are some really negative parts to some of these music scenes. But in the same breath, it's camaraderie, it's friendship, it's belonging, it's all these things that some of these kids don't have in other areas of their lives. So it's really powerful and important as well. And that's why you've got to embrace it and allow it to happen and stuff.
And you're right. I'm just thinking about, I'm 100 years old and everybody else here, and Northern Soul as an example. And I can remember when I was about 11 or 12 and getting my little bag, and you used to have the bag, and and just going and all doing a similar kind of dancing and everything. And it really was part of being in a group. And it was that whatever else was going on, you did have that camaraderie, which is, I absolutely understand what you're saying. Matt, do you just think of something that Baby J was talking about as well, was around art as well? And I had an artist friend of mine come into Parliament last week, and we were just talking about poor mental health. And I wonder if artists, creative people, do you think they tend to have more mental health issues? And I only ask because you've been in the industry, or do you think it's just something that's across a whole spectrum of people?
Again, I'm not an expert in this, but I would say that all of us, I think especially post-pandemic, I think we all were affected by that. And I think life in general is a lot busier. It's not to say people didn't struggle in the years gone by, but there's so many more distractions, so many more pressures for young people, and us guys are a lot older these days. Even social media, the internet, all of those things are in the mix now that can cause all sorts of stresses on people, and especially young people as well. Can be a very massively positive thing, but it can also be a very negative thing as well in terms of impact on mental health. And I think Jay's right. Go back to what I said about in the education system, to give someone a creative outlet. Some people might flourish and actually be so good at this thing that they can make a living out of it in the future. But that isn't necessarily the point here. To create and allow that creative outlet is going to have massive impacts, whether you necessarily excel in it or not, just being part of the scene or part of something and enjoying it, having an outlet. It's not all about being the best of the best, you know, in that if you've got an outlet, you enjoy it, whether it's listening to music or just trying to learn an instrument or whatever it might be, and it's similar, that is a hugely positive thing and should be, you know, is something which I think probably has untold benefits. Even when you were speaking to Amir Khan in Poland, he was telling you that exercise training it really helped him. We've heard people like to go for a run, and that is their therapy, if you like, and it's just what they do and they enjoy doing it. You know, I when I get a chance, I like to sort of decompress by playing on my arcade machine. I love old video games, you know, Space Invaders and all that sort of stuff. Love it. I haven't got time to do it very often, but you can lose yourself in that world, and if you enjoy it and it's your outlet, you can forget everything else and do that for a period of time, and it makes everything feel better. And I think there's all of that, whatever it is, whatever your avenue you want to take, it's really, really important to have that outlet and to enjoy your life and find things that you enjoy that take the pressure off.
And you just Space Invaders. I didn't even know that still existed. I can't remember how to do just little spaceships. I can remember the tennis though that you used to be able to do.
Oh, Pong, yeah. Pong, Breakout. Don't get me started on video games. I'm an absolute geek when it comes to that. But that's the whole thing. A lot of people have got really passionate about things. Well, I mean, modern games as well. You know, I mean, people say, "Oh, you're spending too long." You know, probably a lot of parents, if you're watching this thing, my kids watching is playing Fortnite or whatever the thing is too long. But actually, you know, there is a part to be played. Video games play a very important part in terms of people getting to know other people, being part of a team, a clan, all of that sort of stuff. You know, there's many aspects to this, and whilst there is negatives, that there's a hell of a lot of positives.
Yes.
Sorry, Amanda, can I just say on that? I think nowadays with anything that's new, sometimes we can have a knee-jerk response and kind of go, oh, you know, the risk of kids sitting in front of screens, or who they're talking to online, is it safe? And all those things are valid, right? But you've got to put it in the context of the broader picture. And the thing is, you know, I fully agree with Matt. You know, some of these, especially some of the modern games, there's so much creativity there, so much imagination. You'd be quite happy if a young person was sat down reading Lord of the Rings, but if they're playing Zelda, it's a problem. But actually, there's very similar creative experiences in both of those things. Similarly with our stuff, like I said, with the downsides of the music, you know, the music scene, there are problems. And it's like, I hear people always talk about, gang culture and gangs. And, you know, some really dangerous things about gangs and young people being in gangs, criminals exploiting them, manipulating young people. But there's also some really positive things about the camaraderie that comes from young, poor males being in close friendship circles that we call gangs. So you've got to look at it within the context of what it is and not just kind of go, it's a problem, so let's turn it off. Social media's, it's all bad, let's turn it off. Well, actually, no, there's some good parts to it, but there are some things we need to manage. And that's the same, whether it's gaming, that's the same, whether it's sport, whether it's music, whether it's youth culture. But sometimes, because it wasn't our culture when we were growing up, there's a nervousness of like, let's get rid of it. And actually, we need to look at the positives and manage the problems with it, I think.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I've just reminded somebody this weekend who actually went to do, I suppose, old fashioned now. But, you know, like the fantasy games, is it Dungeons and Dragons, the Games Workshop? We went for a whole day there. So it's quite fascinating. You know, they have to build the, whatever it is, the tanks or the people and decorate them and everything. And there's a lot to be said from it. But coming back to the, from a technology point of view, I've got my granddaughter, and I actually see no harm whatsoever in embracing computer science or technology or everything, because I think it's an important part of every day. And her start point now, I mean, I remember doing my exams with a calculator. In fact, I don't think I even had one of those, what was it, a slide rule? I mean, that's how blooming long ago it was that I was doing my maths. But yeah, a slide rule, oh my goodness. But actually we have moved on. Moving on, I'm gonna have to move on because we've only got, I can't believe it, we're nearly at the end of our time as always. It would be remiss, Ryan, I'm going to come to you first. Obviously Derbyshire Cricket Club, we now Derby County Football Club. Thoughts, where are we at? What's Gordon Bennett?
Well, I mean, from a cricket club perspective, you know, it's been a big weekend for us. We had India the Indian team with us on Friday night. Fantastic to have the Indian squad with us. It was a really good occasion. We had pretty much a sellout crowd there, and lots of a new audience coming. Lots of people looking at our database had come for the first time, so fantastic. And it was a really good occasion, and I think everyone had a really good night, even though Derbyshire got beaten.
Yes.
But we put up a reasonable show against a very, very good Indian team. And then on Sunday we had a really, really good crowd, almost to sell out again, and beat Durham. And with the way the results have gone over the weekend, we confirmed our place in with the quarterfinals of the Vitality Blast. So really, really positive for the county and the city. And everyone's delighted. And coinciding with that news, when I was at the game on Friday night, someone had shouted out yes, and had seen the news that Derby County had come out of being purchased and come out of administration. So fantastic news. It's been such a challenge for so many people associated with the club. And talking about mental health, I know that's been a challenge for lots of people. I've spoken to a number of people closely associated with the club, but supporters as well, who've really found these last however many months a real challenge. So it's fantastic news for everyone who follows the club and for the city as well. And it's a real time now for everyone to get behind the club again. And it just shows, what's shown is just the passion there is for sport in this city and across the county. And I just hope the club now, can build back up quickly and bring success back.
Yeah. Baby J, I don't know whether. Oh, I think we've got a little bit of feedback. Views on Derby County Football Club? Any views yourself?
I mean, it's a little bit out of my world, I'm afraid. I mean, obviously, I know it's an important part of the city, and I'm glad things seem to be heading in the right direction. Like Ryan said, I know the work that the Derby County Community Trust does is really important in the city, so I'm a big supporter of that. But sport is a little bit, past my pay grade. I don't really understand it. So,
you've been doing a lot of running, though. I seem to remember. Are you still running?
I'm still running, yeah. Trying to stay young desperately. I don't know how well it's working. It still seems to be going grey. The running doesn't help that. No, I mean, I enjoy sport, doing it, but kind of watching it and following clubs I've never really done. So
yeah, it's like I love playing tennis, but I find it a lot harder to sit and watch tennis because I just get hold of a racket. But so, Matt, any views on Derby County? Because before you do, Matt, I'm just going to go. We've only got a few minutes left. Words of wisdom. I'll whiz round for some words of wisdom after this. But Matt, any views on Derby County Football Club?
Well, I'm just glad to be on a Q&A and it's all done and dusted. What a roller coaster. Absolute nightmare it's been, hasn't it? I mean, obviously I know Amanda and Team Derby have worked really hard and it must be incredibly frustrated for you, but for the fans, it's just been horrendous. And it's just great that it's finally done. Delighted David Clowes has taken ownership, the Clowes Developments. Fantastic. Curtis Davis, I'm absolutely delighted Curtis Davis is staying with us. What a rock he is. I can't tell you how impressed I am with that man. I can't wait to see him take us back into the championship, because I'm sure that's what's going to happen. Got to think positive. But yeah, I like everybody else, just a huge relief. And now we can get on. We're seeing players being signed, retained and everything else. We can see a way forward finally.
Yeah. And such a great relief that we've not got the 15-point deduction as well. So just a win all round really on that. So I can't believe we're at the end, and it is fantastic news about Derby County. Cannot be underestimated. And all credit to everybody, the fans, so many different people who've all worked really hard to get to the result, and it has been dramatic. Words of wisdom. I think I might come to you first, Ryan, if I can, because you've done this before, and I'm sure you do have lots of words of wisdom, but do you have any words of wisdom for people?
Well, I do, and I think you remember I've been on a few times there, and I tend to cheat a little bit if I'm being honest about it, but I think it's, I like a quote. I like, when I've been around lots of sporting organisations, you see lots of inspirational quotes, and I like this one. I think I've always given you the opportunity to guess who it's from. So this quote is, "It's sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair." Any ideas?
No.
Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
I think it's a good quote.
Man.
Yes. That's a
We
good
could close
quote.
here,
But no, I was saying earlier, it's you can just see what's happened over how much sport means to so many people's lives across the city, and let's hope things move in a more positive direction for all the clubs over the next few years and beyond.
Ryan, wise words of wisdom. Thank you. Jay, do you have any, baby Jay, do you have any words of wisdom that you would like to impart as we leave our people for the week?
I don't know it's words of wisdom, but I think I'd just like to say, kind of in closing, to anyone that's listening to this, is just, you know, give young people a chance and believe in them. They're our future, you know, and I think in your organisations, in your businesses, in your lives, they've got so much to offer, so much enthusiasm, so much optimism. So I just think, you know, wherever we can, let's give young people opportunities and give them a chance.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Matt?
Just quickly, I would say, staying with a creative theme, if you have a creative passion or an interest, follow it, go for it. There's resources out there now online and you know, in other places to nurture what you might be a seed that you've had planted for a long time and you're just a little bit unsure whether you want to take that step. Do it, see what happens. You know, follow your passions, and who knows, you might really enjoy it. So it doesn't matter what age you are either, go for it.
Yeah, it's so true. And I was just thinking what you've all been saying, and I was talking about a record that meant a lot to me, and this is just a really bad admission on terms of the record, but it was George Benson, The Greatest Love of All, and it was all about young people, teach them well and let them lead the way, show them all the beauty they possess inside. And I'm just a great believer that we should really allow and encourage people to recognise their own beauty. So anyway, thank you, guys. I cannot believe it. It is just about to turn to 1:15. So thank you so much. Matt, can we count on you coming back again?
Yeah, I believe so. I'll just check my diary because I know I'm away for a few days, but if I'm not, I'll be here.
We'll be working round you. That is absolutely. Did I tell you the joke last time about the, what's that?
Oh, be careful, Amanda.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to do any jokes. But I only ever remember the punchlines of jokes, and it was the the vicious circle, if you remember. But anyway, that's the only joke I've ever remembered. But guys, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure as always to see you, and see you again shortly. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.